Hello, I'm Game Retainer, and in this video I've put together a little guide to Navezgane. Navezgane is the map that most new players will use for their very first playthrough, so I figured why not go through it a little bit, show off a few of the key locations, the traders, and maybe even a few base locations. So let's jump straight in. Let's kick things off by going over the traders. Each biome has its own trader, and the Pine Forest biome, which is the beginner's biome, it's where you'll spawn in on day one, this one has Rect. Trader Rect is the seed and food specialist, so he'll have a nice array of, well, seeds and foods. He will also have other stuff, and a lot of it's randomized depending on your loot stage and game stage and all that stuff, but he does have a tendency of stocking extra magazines that are centered around cooking and farming. In the same building as Rect, you will find two vending machines. These restock daily, and you can find these in all trader settlements, so have a look around for those. One last thing when it comes to all trader settlements, feel free to loot anything you see. Traders might make a comment about it, but they don't actually do anything. They don't really seem to care that much, so yeah, go ahead, loot this place and take all of its goodies. You can even sell it back to the trader. The next trader on the list is Trader Jen. She is the medicinal expert, so she has a tendency of carrying more than just a few meds. And she's not the most important trader in the game, at least in my opinion, but she does come in handy, especially when you're infected and hurt, and you're desperate for some meds. Her compound as a whole does have quite a lot of loot, so be sure to take your time, make your way through, and grab everything you can before leaving. Moving on to the Desert Biome, there's Trader Bob. Now, Bob is my personal favourite. He stocks all things vehicle and tool related. So while he might not be all that useful during the early stages of the game, the mid to late stage, you'll visit him quite a lot. He will typically have plenty of vehicle adventures magazines, he'll have car parts, and once you get to a certain point in the game, he'll even start having entire chassis and stuff ready for you to buy. They will be expensive, but during the late stages of the game, Dukes are really easy to come by, so for the sake of laziness, it might be worth buying a few of the car parts later on. Towards the top of the map in the Snow Biome, there's Trader Hugh. He sells all things weapons and all things ammo, so if you're looking to blow something up or hurt something, then he's the guy to go to. He will also have a nice array of books and magazines, mostly catered towards killing. The final trader is Trader Joel. He is located in the Wasteland. His specialty is armor, and it's pretty good. You can get some good parts, but early on, not all that important. And if you are new, I wouldn't recommend visiting the Wasteland early on anyway. One noteworthy thing about Joel's place is there's a little hole here in the fire pit that you can go down, and you can loot his house. There's not a lot in here, but you'll find some books, magazines. If you're lucky, you'll get something nice in this chest, and there's even some food and meds over on the counter and by the window. Once you're done here, you can interact with this on the wall, and this door will open. One last note about traders. They do share their tier points. However, when it comes to handing in a mission, you need to go back to the trader that you took the quest from. I have made a video all about trader quests and how the tier system works. If you want to check that out, I'll link it on the screen. But let's take a look at the biomes. The Pine Forest is the beginner's biome, as I mentioned towards the start of the video. Here, you'll find plenty of trees, plenty of resources, and the enemies, especially early on, are pretty manageable. Very rarely will you see anything running, unless it's nighttime, of course. If you want to go mining, then you absolutely can here. There are pretty much all nodes that you can grab and dig down from. That is with a couple of exceptions. One being oil shale, you're not going to find that here, and the other being snow. While it's not technically mining, you can use snow for certain craftable materials, and unsurprisingly, you'll find that in the Snow Biome. The most difficult zombies you're likely to encounter early on in a playthrough in the Pine Forest biome are dogs and big mamas. Also, if you visit Bob's boars, then, well, you'll find boars. As you progress, the game will naturally get more difficult and you'll start seeing other animals like bears and stuff appearing, but they don't tend to be as frequent here as they are in some of the other biomes. One last noteworthy thing about the Pine Forest is that you'll find a pretty hefty amount of plants, and it's worth picking them up. especially in the first few days, because even if you don't want to use them, you can sell them to the traders and make a few extra dukes. Next up, we have the Burnt Forest. This miserable biome doesn't really have a lot going for it. It does have coal, extra coal, I should say, in the trees. And you will find various ore nodes, with the exception of oil shale, because that's exclusive to the desert. There's really not a lot here. There's not a lot of towns, there's not a lot to do, aside from see gen. I think there's 1 or 2 noteworthy POIs. Aside from that, it is a bit boring. All of the enemies that you'll find in the Pine Forest biome can and will spawn in the Burnt Forest and all of the biomes. One zombie type that is mostly unique to the Burnt Forest are burn victims. You will find them occasionally in other POIs and other biomes, but this is where they call home, for the most part anyway. Ramping up the difficulty again ever so slightly is the Desert Biome. This biome has plenty of resources. It does have oil shale, as I mentioned in the previous entry, and that is used to make gas. Aside from a couple of POIs, you're not going to find oil shale outside of the desert, unless a trader's selling some for some reason, which there's not really much point in buying it. There are a couple of plant types that are definitely worth picking up here, and that is aloe vera and yucca. Aloe vera can be used to make first aid bandages, and yucca fruit can be eaten and crafted into certain drinks. There are a couple of enemies that prefer to spawn in the desert, and they are vultures and coyotes. You will see these in other biomes too, but for the most part you'll find them here. Vultures in the desert, provided they're not located within the bounds of a POI, they will only attack you if you're injured. So before you come to the desert, make sure you heal up. One last thing on the desert, just a real quick and obvious note. Cactuses, they hurt. So try not to walk into them. Next up, we have the Snow Biome. This is considerably more difficult than the biomes I mentioned previously. Here you'll find a couple of nice towns, which again I'll show shortly. You'll also find plenty of animals that just want to tear you to shreds, and lumberjacks. So I'll show you those real quick and then we'll move on to the next biome. One last note with this one, when it comes to mining, it can be pretty profitable, although you're not going to get oil shale. One other thing that this biome tends to have a lot of are tree stumps, and for those who don't know, you have a 20% chance to receive honey when you break a tree stump. When it comes to the more dangerous creatures, the Snow Biome has a lot of bears, lots of mountain lions, and more than a handful of lumberjacks. Lumberjacks are just tankier regular zombies, unless they're feral, of course, in which case they're running tankier regular zombies. As for bears, you will find these in all biomes as you progress, but more often than not, they tend to spawn in the Snow Biome and the Wasteland. And the mountain lion, you don't really find these outside the Snow Biome unless they're a part of a POI mission, so yeah, keep an eye out for these guys. Last up, we've got the Wasteland. This is the most difficult biome in the game. Here you've got every type of zombie imaginable. This includes obviously the hardest zombies in the game. You'll also find plenty of direwolves here, and direwolves are very, very hard to kill, especially early on. There are a couple of really good towns for looting. You will need to master some parkour skills because a lot of it has kind of half fallen apart. And on top of that, you will find mines scattered throughout. So try and stay on the roads, because if you leave the main path, there's a good chance that you'll walk over a mine. If you are worried about accidentally stepping on a mine and blowing yourselves up, which you absolutely should be, then try and look for Urban Combat Volume 5. That magazine removes all chance of you setting off a mine, no matter whether you're walking or driving, so definitely keep an eye out for that one. Because I did this with the last few biomes, I'll show off a couple of zombies that you'll find in this biome more so than the others, and they are these horrible mutated creatures, and, as I mentioned a minute ago, direwolves. Just one last note on enemies before we move on to the next section. If they are glowing green like this, it means they're radiated, and it means that they regenerate health when you're not hitting them. That is unless you have the Rad Remover mod. But now that I've mentioned that, we're going to take a look at each of the main towns in Navezgane. The first major town is Dyersville, and as you can see, it's located in the Pine Forest. I'll put coordinates up for all the towns, just so you can find them pretty easily. There are a couple of other built up areas in the pine forest biome, but this is by far the largest one. There are a few noteworthy POIs, with the most difficult one in this area being the Navezgane General Hospital, so avoid this one early on. Slightly east of Dyersville you'll find this cracker book, and it makes for a pretty good early base because there is a little house on top of here, and it's a bookshop, so you will get plenty of magazines and books, which if you've not played before, then these are important, like really important, so read them all. On the other side of Dyersville you'll find this Working Stiff Tools. This place is good to come to when you're looking for, well, tools. You will also find a few other bits, and out in this little garden section, this place is perfect for completing some of those early challenges, especially those that require you to break stuff down for things like cobblestone in here, a few of the plants, and various other resources as well. The Burnt Forest biome doesn't have a large town as such. The closest thing it's got to that is this little area I'm in now, and there's not a whole lot here. So what I'll do instead is I'll show you a couple of the more noteworthy POIs in this biome, and I'll put the coordinates on the screen. Here you've got the crypts. This makes for a pretty good early base location if you want a little bit of a challenge, because it is in a slightly more difficult biome, but it's manageable. The other POI that I'll mention in the Burnt Forest is Judy Witch. This is a tier 4 POI, and it is pretty challenging, to be honest. A fun one, but don't come here too early. There's also a nice little farm here where you can get pumpkins, and pumpkins can be pretty tricky to come by early on. Not that you really need them unless you want to go into farming, I guess. Moving to the Desert Biome, this is Departure. This is the largest town in the area. There are a handful of other places. I am going to put together a video of all noteworthy areas in Navezgane, so keep an eye out for that. But this one does have a few of the more difficult POIs in the game that you can come across. That includes Dishong Tower and the Ostrich Hotel. Not too far away from Departure you'll find Grover High, which is another incredibly difficult POI to clear. And you'll also find Navezgane County Jail, which again, very difficult, so proceed with caution. Moving up to the Snow Biome, there are two areas that I'm going to mention. The first one I don't think has a name, it's just a built up area here. There is an athletic complex which is very difficult to clear, but highly rewarding. There's the Navezgane High School, which is another tough one, but again, rewarding. Not too far away from the school, you'll find the Minotaur Theatre, which is another very difficult POI to clear. But moving on to the easier ones, still can be challenging if you're new, but the Cracker Book here, or Cracker Caf, as I believe it's called, is a great place to come and stock up on books. And just next door to that is a super savage country. This place is perfect for getting armor parts and, hopefully, if you're lucky, a few legendary parts. Towards the other side of the Snow Biome is Perishton. This is the largest built up area in the Snow Biome, and it does have quite a few interesting POIs, with my personal favourite being right behind me. That is Moe's Cathedral. Some of the other notable ones are the Shotgun Messiah that you can see right here, but this is a part of a larger POI, and it's quite a fun one to explore. You'll find a couple of combination POIs, so they'll have, as you can see here, this one has foods and drugs, which nice combination. Moving slightly further down the road, you'll find the Town Hall, which is quite nice for loot, and next to that is Seymour Bank, and it's a bank, so money. Perishton is also home to what I believe is the longest POI in 7 Days to Die, and that is Perishton Tunnel. There's not a whole lot in here. If you come in with a wrench, then you can walk away with a few decent parts, but it is quite cool to see, and you can go right the way through to the other end and explore further up in the Snow Biome. Moving into the Wasteland, there are multiple built up areas, but I'm going to focus on the two largest ones. The first one being an unnamed town. I say that because none of the signs have a name on it. If you're feeling confident, then this is actually a pretty good place to visit, because while it does have some difficult POIs, it also has some very large ones that are surprisingly easy to clear. For example, this building here. This is the HNN Bank building, and it doesn't actually appear as a tier. It will come up with 2 skulls in the top right of the screen, but that's because of the biome it's in. So you will find some enemies inside, but it's very easy to clear, and if you come here with a wrench, you can break apart everything you see inside. There are quite a few of these derelict POIs in the Wasteland, and the Wasteland does give you a nice biome boost when it comes to your loot stage, so it's definitely worth visiting here and looting what you can. Just be mindful because tough zombies everywhere. The other large town in this area is called Gravestown, and this is home to a few of the hardest POIs in the game, and because it's in the Wasteland, that difficulty is amplified. The most difficult one here, in my opinion, is Higashi Pharmaceutical, but it is worth visiting because it gives you a little bit of lore regarding what's going on. I don't want to give away too much, but it's quite a fun one if you like non-verbal storytelling. This town is also home to 2-Bit Tower, which if you've seen any of my other videos, then chances are you know how much I loathe this place. I just hate it with a passion. I don't think it's worth it. But you can find out for yourselves, I'm sure. Now that we've taken a look at the biggest towns in the game, I'm going to finish off by heading back to the Pine Forest biome and showing a few locations that make for a good early game base. The first good base location I'm going to show off is the Mima residence. This one is a bit beat up and it does require some work, but what makes it so good is its close proximity to Trader Rekt. I can take you with me now. If I go up here, you'll see Rekt's compound pop out just below, down there. And you need to be close to the traders really, because you'll be doing lots of missions, depending on your playstyle, but for the most part, you'll be doing lots of missions. Alistair's cabin is another good one, and while it is a little further away from Rekt, it's a little bit better built than the Mima residence. So if you want something that requires less work early on, then check this one out. Just north of Alistair's cabin is Sean's shack. This one is sort of a mid-ground between Alistair's cabin and the Mima residence, only because it is quite broken down, but it also has its defences and the nice balcony up there. So it's in between the two, if you ask me. If you want a slight challenge, then consider moving into this one. The last good base POI I'm going to show in this video is NFD Engine 4. This is located slightly south of Dyersville. So you are quite far away from Rekt, but with you being close to this town here, you're always close to lots of good loot. The POIs I've just mentioned, they're not the only places. I've made loads of videos on good base POIs. These are just a few picks to get you started. I'm going to finish the video now, but before I go, I'm going to show you one interesting location that I really like exploring and is easy to miss. This one isn't really good for a base, at least not in my opinion, but it's lots of fun, especially if you like Skyrim. This is the Asgard residence. It doesn't look like that much from the outside, but if I go underground, and I'll do it from back here, there's a large complex underneath that's surprisingly easy to clear, and I just love the style of this. It has very little relevance to the video, but I just wanted to show it off because it's a cool place in Navezgane. So I hope you found this video interesting. There are loads of great places to explore in Navezgane. I've just highlighted some of my picks and some of the main areas to get you started. Explore it, enjoy it, there's a lot of fun to be had. As always, thank you very much for watching, and I hope to catch you in the next video.